Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art2Life Podcast. I'm here today making some art and not entirely sure what I'm going to make, but that ties perfectly into what I want to talk to you about today, which is about getting a sense of your path before you're there. Basically seeing your path, even though you haven't figured out what that is. And as I lay out these paints, actually, this is perfect, so I'm choosing colors, right? I don't know what I'm going to do at all here. I just grabbed some paintings, some starts that were, left over from workshops and everything. And I'm grabbing colors quite intuitively, just what I sort of feel, what feels good. I picked up the pink and then I put it back down. I'm grabbing the yellow. So I'm just going to grab a few colors. Here's the beginning of this, this thing where we, and I've experienced this, so I know exactly how many of you are feeling. What happens, and it often happens mid-year, at least to me, you get pretty focused in the winter, and then distractions come in, and you can lose momentum pretty easily with your work. Or maybe you have a show, or you have something, and you accomplish a lot in the spring. And then you hit this summer patch, and we don't know what to do next. And we stop. And the thought of not knowing what we're going to do next starts to become somewhat bothersome, because we like to know what we're going to do next. And everyone else does too. Well, what great, what are you working on? What are you working on? What are you doing next? And if you don't really know, it starts to kind of build on itself. What I want to say here is that this is entirely normal. And not only that, it's necessary. It's necessary to not know. There's so many things that come in the way of the distractions, the new things you have to learn that you don't even know you need to learn to do this next level of art. It's almost like you have to catch up with your art. You take it to a certain place, and then it has to kind of wait a little for you to continue on, for you to learn the things you need to learn, or to not be making art for a while and be thinking about it. This is when the growth occurs. This is when the new work, where that will come from. And you almost have to have these periods, I believe, of not really knowing what it is that you're going to do next. And it's crazy, maddening, because we like to know how everything's going to turn out, how it's going to work out, right? And we can feel not so safe, not so sure. It can make us feel a little stressed out. And I believe that this is one of the reasons that we're making art in the first place, is to get comfortable with this phenomenon of learning and understanding that the not knowing is actually needed. I mean, it's actually needed in life, but I mean, especially in art, especially when we're needing to make something, especially when it needs to be something new and something better and something different and something more like you. We don't just make things ongoing and then they just keep turning out. There's periods where we're going to stop. And that's what these are. These are moments when we don't know what it's going to look like, and we just have to sit in it. And we can start to feel if we're quiet, if we're present, if we're not keeping ourselves really busy, distracting ourselves. Steve Jobs, there's this great quote where he says, you have to say no to 1,000 things. And what he means is, like, the no's provide the space for all that you need to learn. And in this time, it becomes important to have space, even if you're not filling it, right? To just feel into what is more closer to what you're moving towards. So it's tricky to sit with this, but as longer you can sit with this, if you can rest in this place and not stress out about it, the answer is coming. And the longer you can kind of be in this unknown place, the more substantive, the more correct for you, your next little part of this journey will be. You know, I'm laying paint down here, and I don't know what it's going to be at all here. And the way I find out about what it's going to be is by doing something, but being present, just literally being present with what I'm making. That's all I need to do. And that's all you need to do. And that is why this little problem that we think we have of losing our way and not knowing what we're going to do isn't really a problem at all. It's more of an invitation. An invitation to feeling and being more present. But being present, paying attention is what is required. But you don't have to try to come up with an answer. And art making is such a good teacher for that. I mean, that's what art making is. It teaches us, gives us this opportunity to be present, to do things, to do something when you're forgetting who you are, forgetting where you are, forgetting what you're trying to make, and you're just in response to something. And you can feel better when you're present. You're not thinking about the path you're trying to figure out, and you're just in the present state. Then we start getting information from what we're doing, and it becomes more, it's more truthful for us. If it comes through when we're making the art, then it's worth looking at. And if nothing else is coming in for a distraction, and we're just, playing is another word, or experimenting, or just being present, feeling what it's like to have the art, to have colors, watching what happens, just losing yourself in that, the wonder of it. This sets us up, right? Like, I am doing things, if I enjoy something, if I like something that's happening here, I just follow it. I'm just doing more, but I don't have a plan. Does this look like my work? I'm not worrying about that. I'm not thinking about that. I'm just, today I want to do something new. I want to feel alive. And so this not knowing is a time to recommit to that feeling of loving your life, of paying attention to when you're putting things down, the colors that you love, the things that you enjoy. This is when you want to have them come in. Once you have a direction and a mission, it starts to get more confined. But man, the time when you don't know is so good. It's so juicy. It's so surprising. So set that up for yourself, just that you get to be amazed in this time. Not that it's going to be your direction, but just it's now you are paying attention. You're present to what it is that brings you energy in your work and also in your body, how you feel when you're making marks, when you're using color, whatever it is you're doing that you're excited about. Not only is it not worrisome, or shouldn't be, but this pause, this not knowing patch is needed, is what does create the path. The path comes, the clarity comes from not knowing. That's how you do it. That's what art is. It is just literally really double down. Now you can be really present. Like I just finished an entire body of work, 17 large paintings for a show. I mean, we're still packing them up upstairs. And I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do now. You know, it's like I did a thing, and now I'm just so ready to not know. I'm so ready to not be trying to make something that fits in with other things. And oh my God, it's the best. But am I confident that I'm going to do work and all that? No, but I'm excited by what is coming. And I love the fact that I get to play and let something bubble up. And it's all sequential. It all makes sense when you look back. This is actually something Steve Jobs also said, in his life, or in building anything, a company or artwork, a body of work, that the breadcrumbs make sense. It's understandable when you look back, when you see things early on. I was doing a interview with my friend Adam Wolpert. He makes these amazing tree paintings. If you go to Adam Wolpert, WOLPERT, and we'll put links in the show notes. He does these immense, amazing tree paintings. And I've known him, since college, and we've always been talking about art. And he's gone through all these phases. He for a long time he was making fruit paintings, and they were floating in space. He was doing still lifes. He went to Italy and he learned this certain way of painting, and he studied still life, like straight up still life, like bowls of fruit. And then the fruit started floating, and then he made up abstract work, and he went through all these phases. And I was looking at it for this interview because I wanted to show kind of the arc of his work. And now he's doing these 7-foot, 8-foot immense oak tree paintings. And when we looked back at his work, I saw the trees. The trees were in the work. Always. There were always trees in the work, whether it was a drawing of a tree. Behind the floating fruit were these like washed back, sensitive, like really subtle trees, and then gradually these have come more and more and more forward. So that's what's going on when, it's like all of this will make sense, but you do not need to know. You don't have to figure it out. You just have to be present. It will all make sense. It'll actually be so obvious when you look back. When I look back at the things that I've made, I could just so see it. I can see the struggle in it, and I can see what I was trying to do. And then I can see where I remember when I changed my mind because I had all these ideas about how something had to be, and then how that freed me up. So not only do you not need to know, but it will be very apparent down the road when you look back. This will seem like you actually orchestrated it, which you kind of did, but you did it from a place of not knowing. So I just absolutely love that. I'm adding color here, just not knowing. Like there's things like I understand color, and I understand what moves the eye around, and I understand that, highly saturated colors, all of them, if they're all highly saturated, it won't look as good, or I don't like that as much. And so, and I have a bunch of saturated colors on here, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm just I'm just in an unknown place. I'm just unknown. I'm not knowing. We talk a lot about contrasts. I teach that way, right? To have it's what differences between things is what makes us feel alive, whether it's, going to a party and then staying home all weekend, or, reading quietly, or going out for a run, seeing a lot of people, painting with bright colors, painting with dull colors, but also painting with all your wisdom, all your knowledge engaged, and painting when you don't know, and actually encouraging that state to just not think. I mean, it seems crazy, but it is such a refreshing aspect. It's such a quality that comes to the work. It comes to you when you're doing it, and it comes to the viewer as well. Just to have somebody just not, you can feel it in the marks. So this knowing thing and not knowing thing is perfect. They come together, and you can use them. I mean, you do use them in art, and I think it's makes the art better. One of the things that happens when we don't know, I'm just pulling this. I'm pulling this. I love doing this, taking larger pieces of paper, taking my hand out of the work, right? Which is another way of not knowing, surrendering something that you're making over to something else that you can't control. It's like who we are and what we're making is really great, but it also gets in the way. And I've really learned this. Too much of Nick is kind of a drag. And, we're all, it's all about self-expression, but it's also about not pushing yourself so much, having so much of you in everything. Well, then what do you put in it? Well, you put in aspects, you share vulnerably, you put in what you don't know. Now, and one of the things I love, like it's happening right here on this picture, is putting colors really thick on top of other colors and just trying to cover them up as best I can. And you kind of can do it, but you kind of can't. So we set up conditions for things to happen, I do anyway, in the work that I think are going to accidentally bring in something that I don't know. If I do something and I don't know what's going to happen, that makes amazing areas in the work that complement the knowledge I have of making pictures, making art. And I have a lot because I've done this my whole life. But that'll only get you so far, right? So having the not knowing, the beginner's mind sort of, but just it's fascinating, right? Just that juxtaposition of those two things. When we make something from a place of not knowing, and we can overcome the resistance to that, right? We're hardwired. Just know that there's resistance, and you have to make the art anyway, even though you might feel like I don't have it today, all the reasons, but most of it is just fear of the unknown, right? We have to make art and continue, especially when we feel that way. So, not knowing and doing something anyway brings in a deeper conversation with ourselves. Much more than if Nick, on the surface Nick, who knows a thing about color and teaches, whatever, coming from the place of not knowing brings in a deeper aspect of myself. It ushers in soul, intuition. This is what we use when we don't know. And the soul, your soul, doesn't really emerge, doesn't really express as forcefully when you are controlling everything, when you know exactly what you're doing, when you think you know what you're doing, but you actually don't, when you're pretending to know what you're doing. It certainly doesn't come in then. It doesn't like to get involved with ego, right? It doesn't want to, it's very patient. But make no mistake about it, the work you make from that place is your best work, is the work that feels more like you. It is you. It's the deeper part of yourself. There isn't anything else to go on if we don't know. All we have, if we're honest, is a hunch. I think that this green will look good here. I don't know. And I just picked up green. I didn't pick up red. I picked up green. I don't know why. I don't know why. Not knowing why is so fine. Not being able to see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So we get to just trust, and that is a powerful lesson in life. And it's what we use to make art. And I think for a lot of us, I know for me, for sure, this concept is why I make art, and it's why I kept going with it, and it's what got me so excited about teaching. It wasn't that I was doing something like I can teach people how to use color, and I can teach people all kinds of things. Like that's pretty fun, but wasn't captivating. What captivated me was this area of unknown, that I could work with somebody and they could have a sense of what it was that they were after, but they didn't know. And by the way, this is really good to talk to someone about this, to share these ideas, because it doesn't come out. It's certainly not going to be visible because you don't even know what it is. But you can talk about the feeling of the thing, of the outcome that you're after. And that's what an artist gets to do. That's what we can do. That's what the magic of being an artist, I think, is that we don't need the thing to make the thing. We can feel into what it is that we're after. And then we can choose what we're adding in, right? And what we're not adding in, the 1,000 no's, the 1,000 things you don't want to do, because you need to have space for the thing, even though you don't know what it is. It's like, I need room to do the thing, but I don't know what it is, but I think it just feels good to not go to that movie. It feels better to just maybe work on this now or take a walk. We're constantly adjusting, curating ourselves so we can better hear what it is that's coming for us. And it is coming for us. It's like there's a magnetism. It comes, but we first have to feel what it's like. You know, I'm speaking of this show. That's all I'm thinking about right now, because that's all I have been thinking about. But 4 months ago or whatever, I didn't know what the show was going to be. I had no idea. I was going to make these. I was going to switch and make large acrylic paintings, which was kind of gnarly. And so I knew that. So I knew that was going to change things a lot. But I didn't know, I've been teaching CVP and I've been, making art, but I haven't done a big body of work. It's been a while. And so I didn't know what that was. And the gallery asks, right? And it's like, well, where are you going? What are you going to do? And I didn't know. And so I just thought about it more, about what I wanted the work, what I wanted to feel, how I want to feel at this point, at this year, in this time. And it's so interesting talking and making something. It's just it's so wild to actually kind of like something that's happening here while I'm talking. I have so little attention. I'm so not in control here. But it's so cool. This is exactly what I'm talking about. But I didn't know what this show was going to be, but I knew how I wanted to feel. And the closest I could get to it was this idea around flourishing, right? I read Ivy Ross and Susan Magnuson's book, Your Brain on Art. And there's a section called flourishing, right? Things that art making is one of them. What are the things we need? We need rich sounds. We need a whole rich environment to flourish. It's no longer just eat well. Flourishing is like, what do we need? What do we need? All the things, right? From relationships, from sound, from things we look at, things that surround us, colors, everything contributes into a state where we feel more ourselves. And we're actually not just getting by, but we're thriving, we're flourishing. It's an overflow of energy we get from being in certain environments. And I just love that idea, because if I could summarize the feeling that I'm trying to create in myself, that I want the work to show, is that subtlety, that balance of visual, textural, colors, and even the music I was listening to while playing, like the whole experience, I wanted to be a yes for me. So I said, the show's going to be called Flourish. I had no idea what the work was going to be. And I just kept thinking about that. And the first piece I did, I wasn't really going so great, and I was really tripping over the materials a lot. But then it kind of started hitting. There were things, I did a couple, and one of them felt more like flourishing than the other. And that's what led to the work. And then I just kind of stopped on that one piece, didn't even finish it, and started another, kind of where that one left off. And I kept going with this. And the body of work and the time spent in the studio clarified the direction. But the feeling of the work was decided super early, based on this idea of, I might not know what it looks like, but we can intuit what we want to feel like. And it doesn't have to feel like positive. You can make work about anything. But if you can hold what it is that is emotionally true for you, that has potency, and be honest about that and think about that's a pretty good place to start, to cross-check what it is you're making. Does it feel like that? What might this work? Like that mistake right there. This is the thing, when you're after something that you have looseness around it, and you're not under contract. There's a spaciousness, but because a feeling is wide open, we're not nailing it down. But being that way and feeling that way when you're making the work and embodying that, it actually shifts what happens outside of yourself. right? And I think what happens is things cross our paths, and this is what got me so interested in teaching art, because this phenomenon, this, I call it tailwind, the synchronicities, the opportunities, the things that come from being in a state that is truly who you are presently, being present, what you're feeling, what brings you alive, holding that. There's thousands of things, as Steve Jobs said, that are swirling by you, and you get to choose what it is that aligns more with that. And that's people. Things are drawn to you as a result of this. Colors, materials, conversations, everything starts kind of working in your favor. And it is the most phenomenal, magical, mystical piece of this art making thing. And it's literally why I called Art2Life, because it's this life piece that we're just doing this metaphor thing, where this thing that I made today says so much about where I am and the feeling of who I am and in this moment, and the accidents that happen, the happy accidents that improve things, that I can say, this feels more like what I'm after. That's okay. And a big healthy dose of not knowing is exactly what we need, I think, really quite frequently. So I hope, I hope some of this was helpful in that if you feel less anxious, less worried, because you need to be that way to do this work. You've got to be in a place where you feel like everything's working in your favor, that all you need to do is be feeling towards what it is you're after. It'll all make sense. Trust me, everything will make sense. It'll be logical. You read these autobiographies of artists, and it's like, God, these people just like did A, B, C. It didn't feel like that. I'm certain at the time, it just felt like, I'm going to do this wild, crazy painting. I'm going to give up altogether. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to just stop making paintings, and I'm going to make sweaters. And it reads in the autobiography, we spent a summer making sweaters, and then the paintings totally shifted. It's like, we think we're being so chancy and so risky, but it's all part of your becoming. And you just have to welcome this time and really enjoy it, really, really use it. So anyway, you guys, I appreciate you being here. I have on the website at art2life.com, if you click on podcasts, there's a little yellow bar on the right-hand side. You can hit that and you can ask a question, leave a message for me, and I love it. And I haven't talked about it lately, so I want to, because it's so great to hear from you. And if you have questions about this is a big topic, and it's really, I've been just talking myself here, but it's a good one for questions. So I hope if you have more questions, I can follow this episode up with another one, and we can go deeper in this. But anyway, I hope you're making some art, and I hope you made some art. I did here, and I'm going to have to look at this because it's kind of wild what happened today. Anyway, thanks so much for being here, and I will talk to you real soon. Okay, bye.